you guys hear me better? Did you guys hear me before? Yeah. All right, cool. That's good. Another example of murder, I think, is the sin of gossip. I think that the sin of gossip, at least for me, is terrible because it's become such a part of our daily lives, we don't even know what we're doing. So far too often, people simply define gossip as saying something that shouldn't be said because it should be kept in secret. I think it goes a bit further than that. Gossip is basically any time you say something about someone that could damage their reputation. So even if you go up to someone and say, Damien, Emily's just so annoying. I can't take her anymore. She's impatient. She's loud. She's obnoxious. She doesn't know when microphones are on. Even though we both know Emily, which is me, I'm hurting Emily's reputation. I'm putting something in Damien's heart where he's judging me now. Where now he is having this negative, judgmental attitude toward Emily, you know? So not only are you hurting someone's reputation, you're also hurting the heart of someone else because you're opening their heart to committing sins of judgment. And you're also opening up someone to going out and telling someone else, this person's flaws are bad. Think of them badly, you know? There was a story once that a woman once went to a confessor and said, is gossip a sin? And he's like, your penance is to go home, take a pillow, go up into the roof, and I think it was like stab it with a knife, right? So this is what she does. She goes home and she like, you know, stabs it open and the feathers go everywhere, right? So she comes back to the priest and says, this is what I did. And he said, good. Now go and gather all the feathers. She's like, Father, you know, that's impossible. And he replied, that is gospel. So personally, I think as a typical rule of thumb, we probably shouldn't talk about people in a bad way because we hurt their reputation. We also open up other people's hearts for division and drama. And if we need to vent, I would highly suggest venting to Jesus in prayer, or going to someone who is outside the community, or someone that you know that will be able to keep from judging this person, or keep from, or who doesn't even know them. Or basically don't use their name. That's a good rule of thumb too. Another way that I think we murder people, like we murder, you know, not necessarily murder, but the idea is, another way I think that we definitely hurt people is in our words and our actions. A rude word can really ruin someone's day. It can really hurt someone's feelings. Being impatient and being short with someone, which I have a tendency to do, unfortunately, is in fact a form of murder. Because we're harming someone. We're hurting their feelings. Another way, I think, is whenever this is going to be a bit controversial too, but abusing alcohol and drugs. It's a really popular thing, you know. People feel the need to go out and drink. But it's not just drinking, it's drinking too much. And we know our limits, and I think drinking can be, you know, not drinking. Drinking to get drunk, that's grave, by the way. Because the issue with that is the fact that you're, one, opening yourself up to other sins. Because you're hurting your senses, you're basically opening the door to committing other sin. You are also hurting your body, which is a temple of the Lord. Which sounds a bit cliche, but it's kind of like when your dad gives you a really nice car and you decide to drive it off a cliff. Well, God gave you a really, really nice car, and drinking, you know, being drunk is kind of like driving it off a cliff because you're really putting yourself and your life in danger. It's also a form of escapism. It's kind of like saying, the body and the self that God gave me isn't good enough, so I need to change myself. Yeah, same with drugs too. So does anyone have any questions? Is there anything I can hit on? Did I make anyone upset? All right, cool. So that's the sixth commandment.
Got me on it.
Sixth commandment. Does anybody know it? Is it on? Thou shalt not commit adultery. So, just throw it out there. You don't have to raise your hand. What do you think adultery is? Throw it out there. Besides Andrew and these guys.
Having sex when you're not married.
Okay.
Lust.
Good. Good.
An affair.
Affair. What's that? Porn? Okay. That's right. You're right on. So, adultery, most people, actually a lot of people think that it's having some kind of affair. In layman's terms, cheating. You're cheating on someone. You're cheating on your spouse. And it's usually correlated with a married couple, right? The wife is going on behind the husband's back and cheating. The husband is staying late night at work. They're cheating. It's portrayed in movies all the time, right? And this kind of, the similar mentality has been around for thousands of years. Even when Moses received this commandment. The chosen people, the Israelites, the holy ones, they all view this commandment as a deterioration, a break in the marital status between two people. And they view this sin simply as that, as this physical sin that can only happen in a marital status or just cheating on someone else when you're in this covenant relationship. And even through Jesus' time. But what Jesus did is he came down not to condemn what Moses taught, what the prophets taught, but to fulfill it. He came down to fulfill every single commandment that we're speaking about. So with adultery, he knows that what his people are thinking about adultery, he knows that they only have half of the story. They don't know everything that goes that's in this. Just like most of these commandments, there's so much jam-packed in this. And so he says to them, Matthew 5, verse 27-28, you have heard it said that thou shalt not commit adultery. But I tell you, whoever looks at another with lust in his heart has already committed adultery. Bam. He just fulfilled it right there. He just put the finishing touch to it, the final blow, the knockout punch. He just gave it right there. And he did this with most of the commandments. And so with this commandment, he said, you know, it's not just breaking the marital status and physically cheating on someone, because you can cheat on someone even in your thoughts, even in your desires. As college students, I think we face that a lot, right? Every time we go out, whether we're going out dancing, it could even be a harmless act, right? Just going out dancing, having fun. Temptation's pretty strong. You have, I'm speaking for the men right now. I'm speaking for the men right now. You have a lot of women who are dressing immodest. And so it's really hard for men to not be tempted and to not lust. It really is. Women, you guys aren't out of this either. I'm not sure exactly because I don't have a woman's brain. But we all are fallen people. So I can only imagine that women, maybe not on the same severity, maybe not on the same level as men, but you guys probably lust too. And you guys probably lust when you see other attractive men. And you lust for them, you desire them, you want to be with them, you want to give yourself to them. Simply to fulfill a pleasure, a self-pleasure. So the reason why Jesus hints on this and he says that lust is also adultery is because, and I think it was Emily who touched on this, we're treating others as objects. Simply objects. Inhumane. Not even human. Just objects for our own pleasure, just to get something out of it. And then when we're done, that's it. Not seeing the beauty that God has created in them. Not seeing Jesus Christ in them. So the sixth commandment, I would say it's definitely a commandment that everyone struggles, in particular, college students. So with that being said, the seventh commandment.
That would not necessarily be a sin because it's not darkening